Going to Elon Musk, operating those two companies, Tesla and Twitter. What are the likelihood you think? Because right now Twitter's what? They came back, the shares, they're showing $22 billion valuation, whatever the number was. A guy like this running two different companies, what's the likelihood of both of these things becoming a reality? Meaning Tesla going and becoming the company he wants to build and Twitter become that $250 trillion company.
Well, I look at his background, and if you told me that he was going to make those four companies successful, when you add, space exploration and other things to it, I would have said you're crazy. But I think this guy's just a special guy, and I think he's putting the teams around him. He's been unafraid to cull the herd at Twitter headquarters, and I think both of these things are going to be a reality, and he's not going to do it single-handedly. And what he's doing right now is he is pulling back on Twitter and then building forward with the people that are with him. And I think both of these things are absolutely going to be a reality. And you have to remember where he's going with Twitter. It's not really a long path to that. It's called the super app, and we see people talking about the super apps that are available in Asia concept that do so many things. Yeah, and that are also banking centers. And I think he's been part of a past organization that comes to mind. I think that was a pretty successful center of banking. And I think what he's really talking about here is I'm going to make Twitter a super app, and I'm also going to make Tesla successful. And I believe him.
Did he come out and say that? Did he want to make this into a super app?
He's talked about it before. He said that before, yeah. So a question for you, Charlie. So imagine, what if, let's do 3 what ifs, okay? What if Musk doesn't buy Twitter? What if Spotify dropped Rogan? What if there is no Rumble? What would happen today if there weren't for those 3 companies?
We would be in a far worse spot than we are now. Yeah, I mean, if Musk didn't buy Twitter, first of all, I wouldn't have been able to prove that I was on a Twitter blacklist because Elon put out the Twitter files and I had the do not amplify tag. So that's number one.
Wow.
Praise God we have Rumble.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
who else was on that list?
Dan Bongino, that we know of. It's actually my pinned tweet. It says, I was placed on Twitter's blacklist.
Wow. And you learned that just a few months ago, one of the Twitter files?
So one of the Twitter files that was leaked and reported on by Barry Weiss showed that there was a specific threat assessment tag put on my Twitter account that said, quote, do not amplify on my account. It was a shadow ban without a shadow ban. So Jack Dorsey lied under oath in front of Congress.
So you weren't banned, you just weren't amplified.
It said do not amplify, yeah. And
okay.
To a day I could show you, because we used to have the 4th largest engaged Twitter account on the planet. According to Axios, we were averaging about 135,000 retweets a day. We really understood the harmony of the platform, and we used it nonstop. It's kind of how we made a name for ourselves. And then, like, overnight, we went to 1,000 retweets a day. And we now know why, because we were placed on a Twitter blacklist.
It's a big difference, brother, from 135 to 1,000 retweets a day.
Yeah, it's a scale of 100, right?
You saw the same thing on TikTok. Pat saw the exact same thing.
Oh, they did the same thing as well.
Pat and I were talking to each other. Do you remember the termination day where all of a sudden a bunch of followers disappeared?
Oh, yeah.
Pat and I were on the phone call. Pat, have you looked at your Twitter? I just looked at mine. I just lost 3,000 followers from yesterday to today. And now you can go back and you can look at any of the trackers in here, Social Blade or any of them, and you can see
great,
that
though.
day.
But the point is, the fact that the point I want to go back to is I actually want you to think about it. Let's try to paint a picture for the audience. Musk doesn't buy Twitter. Spotify drops Rogan.
Yep.
Rumble isn't there to scare the crap out of YouTube, saying, "Hey, if you abuse the talent, there's another option for them."
Right.
Okay. What does America look like if those 3 events don't happen?
We would look even more like East Germany, and we're looking like East Germany right now. I mean, Rumble is one of our great hopes for free speech online. Full disclosure, I'm a shareholder in Rumble. I bought their stock, so I'm not pushing the stock. I'm just saying what they're doing is a very, very magical thing to push back against the Leviathan that is YouTube. If Spotify would have canceled Rogan, he probably would have landed on his feet. He probably could have done his own thing, but it would have showed that we at Spotify will not allow any sort of dissident opinions or dissent. I personally think Rogan might not renew his Spotify contract. I would love to see him do his own thing and just send out his stuff. I think he's big enough. He's America's greatest podcaster. He's super easy to listen to, fabulous interviewer, and just really interesting. That's my own personal opinion. I think he's bigger than Spotify. In fact, I was one of the few people that think that Spotify underpaid him. I think he's $1 billion talent. I know that sounds wild, but he has so much power in the zeitgeist. He's so good at what he does, and not to mention, he can get any guest he wants at any time, and he has a unique format. So those components, praise God that Twitter is now owned by Elon. It's freer than ever before. There's still a lot of work to do on the platform. It still has sort of quirks, and I don't like their new verification thing. It drives me crazy that almost anybody can get verified, but that's just me. I think it's kind of weird. But speech online, believe it or not, in the last year has become more free, not less free.
Of course.
It's one of the few things in society that's actually heading the right direction, which is why they have to try to get this Restrict Act passed. The Restrict Act in D.C., where they're saying it's going to ban TikTok, it's all nonsense. What they're trying to do is create a precedent or a prerequisite to make speech less free online. We, as people that love America and believe in dialogue and a free and open internet, have actually had a pretty good 18 months. They're going to try to use the bipartisan hatred of TikTok as a way to try to ban Telegram, Rumble, and Twitter. All three of them have foreign components. Telegram was founded by a Russian, Rumble was founded in Canada, and Twitter has shareholders like the Saudis that own shares. Under the Restrict Act, the Secretary of Commerce could ban all three based on what they're about to give the power to. And it's probably going to pass, thankfully, because we're sounding the alarm on it. It's the Patriot Act on steroids.
For social media companies.
Yeah, look, it's right there. I mean, that's literally the quote. And that's Salon.com, which is a communist rag that even agrees with me. I mean, I hate TikTok. I think it's digital fentanyl. But I think that we're going to have to live with TikTok being a thing, maybe sold to an American company and onshore. That'd be the best solution, because giving DC unprecedented censorship authority in a time when the internet is becoming freer would be a big mistake.
You think TikTok should be banned? Is that something?
In the ideal world, of course, yes. But we have to also look in reality where you give DC a little bit of this power, they're going to use it to ban us in another way. I think TikTok is bad for society and bad for humanity, but I don't always get what I want. So I'd rather have a free open internet with this really bad app that hopefully can be on board in America, because they will try to use the same power to then restrict Telegram, Rumble, or Twitter.
But is there this yearning for this? What act is it called? The Restrict Act?
Oh yeah, no, it has 21 co-sponsors.
Okay.
21 co-sponsors.
Who's leading that?
Republicans and Democrats. You could look at the co-sponsors. There's more Republicans actually than Democrats sponsoring it. Lindsey Graham, Shelley Moore Capito, Susan Collins. You can go through all the co-sponsors there. John Thune is the main Republican. Yep, there it is, John Thune. And then Tammy Baldwin from Wisconsin. I'm super cynical and jaded. Anytime you have mass bipartisan support for anything in D.C., means a lot of lobbyists are pushing for something that's probably going to be bad for the country and our freedom. I hate to be so jaded, but that's just a general rule. And there's exceptions, obviously. I mean, there's some opioid stuff that's passing. That's some good legislation. This is confirmation of the rule, though. This is an awful piece of legislation that would make our ability to speak online highly restricted, because it's literally in the name. The Restrict Act.
So what could they do to companies? So forget TikTok. What could they do to a Rumble? What could they do to...
Read the bill. They could police our speech. It is Patriot Act 2.0, using the guise of foreign adversaries, giving all the power to the Secretary of Commerce, who no one really knows who she is. She's Gina Raimondo. It's fine. It could be anybody. But effectively delegating that authority to say if there's any sort of foreign policy concern, we can then use that power to close down the app, restrict their activity, or monitor the activity. And you could just imagine, and by the way, the people pushing this are the tech companies, Google and Facebook. And I said, well, why would Google and Facebook push this? Well, Google is being threatened via YouTube Shorts with TikTok. Facebook is being threatened on Instagram by TikTok. But Facebook wants more than that. Facebook would love to be able to ban Telegram because people would use WhatsApp. This is all blatant cronyism disguised as a bipartisan bill to try to stop the CCP from mining our kids' data. We should try to do something to fix that. Make them onshore it, sell it to an American company. The idea of giving the federal government censorship powers of a social media app, I think it's a really bad idea.
For me, it came down when I went to look at this, and I was expecting to see like a 5-page tariff, right? Tariffs are usually 3 to 5 pages. Aluminum shall be defined as aluminum, and it will have a 16% tariff, and within 5 pages you take care of it. So I was expecting, Pat, to see 5 pages on this because of the threat posed by a foreign entity having access to personal information, including potential financial information of the American people, it shall be impugned, right? That's the word you look for. I was looking for 5 pages. And all of a sudden you look and this is hundreds. Wait a minute. Why do you need hundreds of pages to effectively put a negative tariff and to shut TikTok for the reasons of harvesting American information on foreign soil for nefarious means? And then I looked into it and I said, wait a minute. This is a weaponization of government that is being advocated by today's corporate interests coming from Facebook. What Facebook doesn't understand is there's an other side of the rock here, because they're not going to be where they are forever, nor are their competitors going to be forever. And they are one generation and a black swan from being on the receiving end of this thing. Hundreds of pages. It should be a 5-page tariff.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.